What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here for yet another transfer targets video for you guys. Today we are going to be looking at the right winger targets, seeing as Lucas Moura and Eric Lamella's future is very much up in the air. Gareth Bale's future is very much up in the air. So we thought we would bring you 5 right winger targets who could be potentially gettable this summer.
Especially if VF Bale doesn't stay. That'll be such a shame.
It would be a shame. But look, let's look at who we've sounded out for the right wing targets. And let's start off with the first one, which is Leon Bailey of Bayer Leverkusen. A market value we've put down as around 45 million. He's been one that's been linked with us in the past as well. I'm very impressed with Leon Bailey. He doesn't even start every game for Leverkusen.
I think he's a real threat with his pace, really good dribbling ability. He's got a really good finish as well, very underrated. I think got 9 Bundesliga goals last season in a very solid Leverkusen team. They were very, very adept at attacking last season with him and Diaby up front, 2 pace merchants.
Yeah, they had mad games last year.
Yeah.
Just so many goals conceded, goals scored. I mean, they had a mad season, didn't
they?
And
it's one of those ones where you put in he's also quite tall as well. He's not as particularly short for a winger. And he's one where if you put in a decent offer and test Leverkusen's resolve, at 22 years of age, he's another really young player who has a big scope, very, very versatile, can play on the left or the right as well. So if we are looking to replace Gareth Bale, although he'll be expensive, he could be a very, very good investment for sure.
What's his output like in terms of assists and crossing and that kind of stuff?
He's got good crossing ability as well. I think assists-wise, I don't think he was in double figures, but also between 6-7 assists for last season as well. And him and Diaby linked up really well together on each wing. So he's one where if we're going to play a high-pressing system as well, he's obviously got devastating pace. We know about that. So Leon Bailey, for sure, we should consider him.
All right, let's move on to the next one, and that is Emiliano Buendia from Norwich, 40 million market value. I mean, I liked him when he was in the Premier League. Yes, I know they got relegated and dropped down the league, but he's had an astonishing season this year for Norwich, alongside obviously Ollie Skip.
Yeah,
but he's been heavily linked with Arsenal as another one who's been heavily linked with Arsenal.
And although he's a right winger, he's not one of those right wingers where he's blessed with like serious pace like a Bailey. He's not slow, but it's a bit like Phil Foden, where Foden, you won't call him slow, but you're not going to say he's like a real pacey player. Buendia is kind of very similar. When he plays on the wing, he kind of plays it like how Mount would play it on the wing, or Phil Foden, very silky, a lot of skills, very good close control, good at dribbling, but he's not one who's going to burn a defender for pace in one-on-one situations like that. Exactly. But he's quality, man. The guy is absolute quality. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal in the Premier League when he was up there with Norwich. Unfortunately, he didn't get his move. He's now absolutely smashed out in the Championship. And I think if he got a move to a better club like Spurs, I think he's a player who'd really thrive as well. And he may be he's more for chance creation rather than someone who would be implemented in a big intense pressing system, but he could be maybe like our Eriksen kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, play him on the right hand side, drifting into that pocket, into that hole, and putting balls into the box and
he doesn't quite have the passing range of an Eriksen, but in terms of what he makes up for it in terms of his close control and his silkiness in and around the penalty area, but like an Isco kind of thing.
I would love Buendia. I think he's a top quality player. But let's move on to the next one, and that is Samuel Chukwueze of Villarreal. Obviously, they just won the Europa League against Manchester United in the final. He wasn't playing. I think he was injured. He got injured against Arsenal, didn't he, in the semi-final? Yeah. And I thought in that first leg in the semi-final, he gave Arsenal a torrid time. He really did.
He's another one who's got a big scope to improve. He's still very young, 21 years of age. He's one who definitely needs to improve. He doesn't have the output, the final ball of a Bailey or a Buendia in that fact. He's definitely got to improve his shooting. He's got to improve his decision making in the final third. But with his kind of ability, dribbling ability, and his pace, he could definitely be one. If Pochettino took him early, if we had Pochettino, that is, if he took him in early, he could really mould him into be a very special player, and he's got very high ceiling. So if we can get him for a decent fee, I think he's one who we could definitely bring in from Villarreal. But then again, they are not going to be now in Champions League, so maybe he'll think he might stay for another year.
Yeah. With him as well, I mean, a couple of years back or last year's Football Manager, I signed him and he turned into like the best right winger in the world. So it's definitely one I'd be looking at. Anyway, Pedro Neto is the next one we're going to be looking at. I mean, he's come alive this season for Wolves. He really has.
Absolutely.
What a season he's had for Wolves. Probably their main shining light this season. Every time I've seen him play this year for Wolves, he's really impressed me. And he's one who I'd really, really love to see at Spurs. I really would.
Yeah, he's been absolutely phenomenal for Wolves. Another young winger who took his time to settle into the Premier League, but this has kind of been his proper breakout, and he's been absolutely fantastic. Another one can play on either wing, has got really good final ball output. He's got really good finish. His goal contributions this season has really, really skyrocketed from where it was last year. I think he's got like 9 goals and 8 assists or something along those lines. Like, he's been really good with his decision making as well and his quality. And
also, that's in a Wolves team who have really struggled for goals this season.
Absolutely. And the only thing like that is a problem is he had quite a big injury, I believe, near the end of the season, so I don't know when he's going to be back, but he's definitely one who's going to be a big player in the future, who's still in his infancy in his career, and I would absolutely love Pedro Neto at Spurs. And you know, for sure, if we put in a big offer, Wolves would definitely consider accepting that. And he would definitely love to come to Spurs, but might have to be a very big offer to convince Wolves.
And also with Nuno leaving Wolves now, and with the poor season they've had, it does seem like a bit of end of an era at Wolves. So maybe there could be a lot of changes happening there.
Yeah,
you never know.
Agreed.
And the last one we're going to be looking at is another one who I think has had a really good season and who I would love to see at Spurs, and that is Rafinha of Leeds. I mean, he's another one who's been a shining light in this Leeds side. I mean, he's been central to all their play going forward. Well, I mean, his chance creation is absolutely nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, and we know that he can perform in a very high pressing side, like because of what Bielsa demands from his players, and he's completely thrived in that environment. And he was signed for fairly big money last year from Leeds. But he might, a bit similar to Richarlison, he might who had spent 1 year at Watford, then immediately moved to Everton for big money. It could be very similar for Rafinha, who might think, even though he's only been at Leeds for a year, if I get a big offer, no point waiting around and very consider coming. I do think he'll be more expensive, unfortunately, than someone like Neto. But although there'll be similar fees, I do think Rafinha might be a bit more expensive, considering they signed him for big money last summer. But again, another one, if we're ambitious enough to put in a big offer, I think we could definitely convince Rafinha to come to Spurs.
Out of those 5, who would your picks be? Or picks, top 2?
In terms of price, and I think in terms of price and what you're getting for the money, I actually think Bailey might be the best one.
Really?
In terms of end product and price combined, and that kind of thing, and quality, I think Bailey might be the best choice.
For me, I think I would prefer to go to someone like Rafinha or Neto, tried and tested in the Premier League. You know what you're going to get exactly, because obviously when a player comes from a different league, you don't really know what you're going to get.
True.
Fully. Rafinha and Neto have really proved this year that they're ready for a step up to a bigger club, in my opinion. I really believe that, and I think that the output both of them have showed this season, second to none, and I would take either of them happily.
And it's interesting to know, though, like Bale is gonna cost around 12 million a year, and you're looking at those prices where we're touting around to replace him. We're talking at like 35. The cheapest I think was Bailey.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to want 100 grand a week at least in a contract. So it's going to be very expensive to replace him, and a lot more than 12 million a year, in my opinion.
Yeah, but either way, it's going to have to be done either this year or next year. If Bell stays for another year, it's still going to have to be done next year.
Yeah, true.
So look, those are the right wing targets. The 5 we picked out were Pedro Neto, Leon Bailey, Emiliano Buendia, Samuel Chukwueze, and Rafinha of Leeds. Let me know in the comment section below which one you prefer to take. Who is your number 1 pick? And also, if we have missed out anyone, if there's anyone you think which is kind of a realistic target for us this summer at right wing, let me know in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.